What happens when two of music's biggest stars clash on live television over a decades-old secret that was never meant to come to light? Today we're diving into the explosive moment when Justin Timberlake walked off Kelly Clarkson's show after what started as a friendly interview turned into something nobody saw coming. Make sure to subscribe and drop a comment below because this story has layers you won't believe. Kelly Clarkson settled into her signature oversized chair, her warm smile radiating the same energy that had made her show a daytime television staple. Across from her, Justin Timberlake appeared relaxed, his legs crossed casually as he prepared to discuss his latest project. "So Justin, it's been a while since we've had you on the show," Kelly began, her voice carrying that familiar blend of genuine curiosity and professional polish. "I have to say, watching your career evolve over the years has been incredible. From boy band heartthrob to solo superstar to actor, you've really done it all." Justin nodded, flashing his trademark grin. "Well, you know, Kelly, I've always believed in pushing boundaries, trying new things. Life's too short to stay in one lane forever." Speaking of pushing boundaries, Kelly leaned forward slightly. "I've been reading some fascinating interviews you've done recently about artistic integrity and staying true to yourself in the industry. It's refreshing to hear someone with your level of success talk so openly about the challenges." "Absolutely," Justin replied, his tone becoming more serious. "I think as artists, we have a responsibility to be authentic. You know, to not just give people what we think they want to hear, but to actually dig deeper and share something real." Kelly's expression shifted almost imperceptibly, a flicker of something passing across her features. "That's interesting, you say that, because authenticity in this business, it's complicated, isn't it? Sometimes the truth gets buried under layers of image management and carefully crafted narratives." Justin's posture straightened slightly. "I mean, sure, there's always going to be some level of presentation in entertainment, but I've always tried to keep it real with my fans. Have you though?" Kelly's question hung in the air for a moment, her tone still conversational but with an edge that hadn't been there before. "I'm just thinking about some of the stories that have shaped careers over the years. The narratives that get told and retold until they become accepted truth." "I'm not sure I follow," Justin said, his smile becoming more forced. "Are you talking about something specific?" Kelly tilted her head, her expression thoughtful. "Well, I've been in this industry for over 2 decades now, and I've learned that sometimes the most interesting stories are the ones that never get told, the ones that get carefully managed and packaged into something more palatable." The studio audience was silent, sensing a shift in the conversation's tone even if they couldn't quite identify what was happening. "Kelly, I feel like we're dancing around something here," Justin said, his voice carrying a note of caution. "If you have something you want to ask me, just ask it." Kelly smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You know what's funny about this industry, Justin, how certain stories become folklore, how we all just accept the official version of events, even when those of us who were actually there know it's not quite the whole truth. The whole truth about what?" Justin's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Oh, I think you know what I'm talking about," Kelly replied smoothly. "But maybe our viewers don't. Maybe they've only heard one side of a very complicated story." Justin shifted in his chair, his casual demeanor beginning to crack. "Kelly, I came here to talk about my new album, not to rehash old industry gossip. Is that what we're calling it now? Gossip?" Kelly's voice remained steady, but there was steel underneath the silk. "Because I was there, Justin, I saw what happened. I know what really went down." The tension in the studio was palpable now, the audience exchanging glances and murmuring quietly. Justin's publicist, seated just off camera, could be seen making subtle hand gestures, trying to signal something to her client. "Kelly, I think maybe we should take a commercial break," Justin suggested, his voice tight with barely controlled frustration. "Oh, we're just getting started," Kelly replied, her smile never wavering. "You see, viewers, there's a story that's been told about a certain performance, a certain wardrobe malfunction, and how it affected careers. But what if I told you that the version you've heard isn't actually what happened?" Justin's face went pale. "You need to stop this right now." "Stop what?" "Telling the truth. Isn't that what you just said we should do as artists? Be authentic. Share something real." Kelly's voice was still controlled. Justin stared at Kelly for a long moment, his knuckles white as he gripped his chair. The studio lights seemed harsher now, casting sharp shadows across his face as he processed what was happening. "You really want to do this here, in front of all these people?" he asked quietly, gesturing toward the live audience. "I think your fans deserve to know the real Justin Timberlake," Kelly replied, her voice steady as steel. "Not the carefully constructed image, but the person who makes decisions that affect other people's lives and then walks away clean." "Kelly, you're making a huge mistake," Justin warned, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. "You have no idea what you're playing with here." "Oh, I know exactly what I'm playing with," she shot back. "The question is, do you want to tell them, or should I?" The camera caught every micro-expression as Justin's face cycled through emotions. Anger, fear, calculation. The audience was completely silent now, sensing they were witnessing something unprecedented. Fine, he said finally, sitting back in his chair with forced casualness. You seem to think you know so much. Why don't you enlighten everyone? Kelly's smile was razor sharp. Well, since you're giving me permission, let's talk. About February 2004, the Super Bowl halftime show. You remember that, don't you, Justin? Of course I remember it, he replied tersely. Everyone remembers it. Right, everyone remembers your version of it. Kelly continued. The version where it was just an innocent wardrobe malfunction. A split-second decision gone wrong. Nobody's fault, really. That's what happened, Justin insisted, but his voice lacked conviction. Is it though? Kelly leaned forward, her eyes never leaving his face. Because I was backstage that day, Justin. I saw the rehearsals. I heard the conversations. Justin's jaw clenched. You weren't even performing that day. No, but I was there as a guest, watching from the wings. And what I saw was a very different story than the one that got told to the media afterward. The tension in the studio was suffocating. Members of the production crew could be seen exchanging worried glances, unsure whether to intervene or let this explosive moment play out. Kelly, whatever you think you saw, Justin began, his voice strained. I know what I saw. She cut him off. I saw you and your team planning that moment. I heard you talking about how it would generate buzz, how it would get people talking. What I didn't see was any concern for what it might do to her career. That's not how it happened, Justin protested. But the words sounded hollow even to him. Then how did it happen, Justin? Because from where I was standing, it looked like you threw Janet Jackson under the bus to save your own reputation. The pace. Words hit the studio like a thunderclap. Several audience members gasped audibly, finally understanding the gravity of what they were witnessing. Justin's face flushed red. You don't know what you're talking about. The situation was complicated. Complicated how? Kelly pressed. Complicated because you got to continue your career without missing a beat while she got blacklisted from radio and television. Complicated because you gave one half-hearted apology and moved on while she bore the brunt of the backlash for years. It wasn't my decision how the industry reacted, Justin said defensively. But it was your decision to stay silent when you could have spoken up, Kelly fired back. It was your decision to let her take the fall alone. Justin stood up abruptly, his microphone pack nearly pulling loose. This interview is over. Sit down, Justin, Kelly said calmly. We're not done here. Yes, we are, he replied, his voice shaking with barely controlled rage. I'm not going to sit here and let you ambush me with your version of events from 20 years ago. My version. Kelly's laugh was bitter. Justin, there were dozens of people backstage that day. You think I'm the only one who knows what really happened? Justin froze halfway to standing, his face going pale again. What are you saying? I'm saying that maybe it's time the truth came out, Kelly replied. Maybe it's time people knew that Janet Jackson didn't deserve what happened to her, and that you had the power to prevent it but chose not to. You can't prove any of this, Justin said, but his voice was shaky now. Can't I? Kelly reached for something beside her chair, a manila folder that had been sitting there unnoticed throughout the interview. Because I've been doing some research, Justin, making some calls to old friends, people who were there that day. Justin's eyes fixed on the folder with obvious dread. Kelly, don't do this. Do what? Tell the truth. Isn't that what you said we should do as artists? She opened the folder, pulling out what appeared to be several printed emails and documents. The camera zoomed in just enough to show they existed without revealing their contents. You know what's interesting about email archives? Kelly mused. How they never really go away, even when people think they've been deleted. Justin sank back into his chair, his defiance crumbling. What do you want from me? I want you to tell the truth, Kelly replied simply. I want you to admit that what happened to Janet wasn't fair, and that you played a role in how it all went down. And if I don't, Kelly's smile was cold. Then the studio was so quiet you could hear the hum of the cameras. Justin stared at the folder in Kelly's hands like it contained a loaded weapon, which in many ways, it did. You're really going to blackmail me on live television? He asked, his voice barely audible. I'm giving you a chance to do the right thing, Kelly corrected. Something you should have done 20 years ago. Justin ran his hands through his hair, his carefully maintained composure completely shattered. Kelly, you have no idea what kind of pressure I was under back then. The label, the management, everyone had opinions about how to handle it. So you're admitting there was something to handle. Kelly pounced on his words immediately. I'm saying, Justin paused, choosing his words carefully, that the situation was more complex than anyone realized. Complex how? Walk us through it, Justin. What really happened during those rehearsals? Justin looked out at the audience, then back at Kelly, then down at his hands. The weight of 2 decades of carefully maintained silence seemed to press down on his shoulders. The choreography, he began slowly, it was supposed to be edgy, provocative, that was the whole point. The NFL wanted something that would get people talking, and whose idea was the final reveal? Kelly pressed. Justin was quiet for so long that the director started making hand signals to go to commercial, but Kelly waved him off with a subtle gesture. It was collaborative, Justin finally said. That's not an answer, and you know it. Kelly shot back. Whose specific idea was it to expose Janet at the end of the performance? Kelly, please. Justin's voice cracked slightly. Answer the question. Justin, whose idea was it? The silence stretched on for what felt like an eternity. Justin's breathing was audible through his microphone, shallow and rapid. It was mine, he whispered finally. The admission hit the studio like a physical force. Several audience members audibly gasped, and even Kelly seemed momentarily taken aback by his honesty. It was your idea, she repeated, her voice softer now, but no less intense. Yes, Justin said, louder this time. It was my idea. I thought it would be shocking, memorable. I thought it would be good for both of our careers. And when the backlash started, when Janet started getting crucified in the media, what did you do? Justin's hands were shaking now. My team told me to distance myself from it. They said if I got too involved in defending what happened, it would hurt my solo career. So you let her take the fall alone. I thought, Justin's voice broke completely. I thought it would blow over. I thought people would move on, and she'd be fine. But she wasn't fine, was she? Kelly's voice was relentless. She was blacklisted from radio. Her album sales plummeted. She was essentially erased from the industry. For years, I know, Justin said, tears now visible in his eyes. I know what happened to her career. I've lived with that guilt every single day. Have you? Kelly challenged. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've done just fine. Multiple Grammy wins, successful albums, acting career, family man image. Meanwhile, Janet Jackson, one of the most talented performers of our generation, had to fight tooth and nail just to get back to where she was before that night. You think I don't know that? Justin's voice rose suddenly, anger flashing through his despair. You think I don't realize what my silence cost her? Then why didn't you speak up sooner? Why didn't you tell the truth when it would have actually mattered? Because I was scared, Justin admitted, his voice hollow. I was scared of losing everything I'd worked for. I was selfish, and I was a coward, and I let someone I cared about pay the price for my mistake. The raw honesty of his admission seemed to drain all the fight out of him. He slumped in his chair, looking older than his years. And now? Kelly asked, her tone slightly gentler, but still probing. What about now, Justin? Now I realize that my career, my reputation, none of it was worth what happened to her, he said quietly. I should have spoken up immediately. I should have taken responsibility. I should have made sure everyone knew it was my idea and my fault. Kelly set the folder down beside her chair, her expression unreadable. You know what the saddest part of all this is, Justin? He looked up at her, his eyes red-rimmed and defeated. The saddest part is that Janet Jackson never threw you under the bus. Not once. Even when her career was in ruins. Even when she had every reason to expose the truth. She protected you. She could have destroyed you with a single interview. But she didn't. She took the hit and stayed silent. Justin's face crumpled. I know. She's a better person than I am. She always was. So what are you going to do about it now? Kelly asked. Now that the truth is out there, what are you going to do to make this right? Justin looked directly into the camera. His face streaked with tears. I'm going to call Janet the minute I leave this studio. I'm going to apologize properly, publicly. And I'm going to do whatever it takes. Kelly studied Justin's tear-streaked face for a moment, her expression softening slightly. But then her jaw set with determination, and it was clear she wasn't finished. You know, Justin, I appreciate the emotion. I really do. But there's still something that doesn't add up for me. Justin wiped his eyes with the back of his hand, looking up at her warily. What do you mean? I mean, you've just admitted to orchestrating one of the biggest scandals in television history, and you've acknowledged that your silence destroyed Janet's career. But you're still here, aren't you? Still successful, still beloved by millions of fans who have no idea what kind of person you really are. Kelly, I just told you I was going to make this right, Justin said, his voice strained. Did you though? Kelly's tone sharpened again. Because what I heard was a lot of pretty words about guilt and regret, but I didn't hear you taking any real accountability. I just admitted everything on live television, Justin protested. How is that not accountability? Because admitting something and actually paying consequences for it are two very different things, Kelly shot back. Janet Jackson lost years of her career, millions of dollars in revenue, and her reputation was dragged through the mud. What exactly are you prepared to lose to make this right? Justin shifted uncomfortably. I told you, I'm going to apologize, publicly, help her career, however I can. That's not what I asked. Kelly pressed. I asked what you're prepared to lose. Because Janet lost everything. What are you willing to sacrifice to balance the scales? The question hung heavy in the air. Justin's mouth opened and closed several times as he struggled to find an answer. I don't know what you want me to say, he finally managed. "I want you to say that you understand that words aren't enough." Kelly fired back. "I want you to acknowledge that Janet Jackson deserves more than just an apology from the man who ruined her life." "I didn't ruin her life," Justin said defensively, some of his earlier anger returning. "Didn't you?" Kelly's voice was ice cold. "Let me paint you a picture, Justin. Janet Jackson, before that night, was one of the most successful recording artists in history. Multiple #1 albums, sold-out world tours, cultural icon status. After that night, radio stations wouldn't play her music. Television networks wouldn't book her, and her next album barely cracked the charts. But sure, you didn't ruin her life." "The industry overreacted," Justin said weakly. "The industry followed your lead," Kelly countered. "When you stayed silent, when you let her take the blame alone. You gave everyone permission to treat her like she was disposable. You had the power to stop it, and you chose not to use it." Justin stood up again, this time with more conviction. "You know what, Kelly? I came here in good faith to do an interview, not to be lectured about mistakes I made decades ago." "Mistakes?" Kelly's laugh was sharp and bitter. "Is that what we're calling it now, a mistake?" "Yes, a mistake," Justin said, his voice rising. "A terrible, stupid mistake that I've regretted every day since it happened. Regret doesn't pay Janet's bills, Justin. Regret doesn't restore her legacy. Regret doesn't give her back the years she lost. What do you want from me?" Justin exploded, his composure finally shattering completely. "You want me to retire? Give up my career? What would that accomplish besides making you feel better?" Kelly stood up to match his energy, her own voice rising. "I want you to understand that actions have consequences, and that your actions had consequences for someone other than yourself. I want you to stop acting like you're the victim in this story." "I never said I was the victim," Justin shot back. "You didn't have to say it," Kelly replied. "It's written all over your face every time I mention Janet's name. You're more concerned about how this makes you look than about the damage you caused." "That's not true," Justin protested, but his voice lacked conviction. "Isn't it?" Kelly challenged. "Because if you really cared about making this right, you would have done it years ago, not waited until someone cornered you on live television." The two stood facing each other across the interview space, the tension crackling between them like electricity. The studio audience was completely silent, afraid to even breathe loudly. "You know what?" Justin said finally, his voice deadly. "Quiet. I don't have to stand here and take this from you." "No, you don't," Kelly agreed. "You can walk away, just like you walked away from Janet 20 years ago. It seems to be your specialty." Justin's face went white with rage. "You have no right to judge me." "I have every right," Kelly fired back. "I was there. I saw what happened, and unlike you, I haven't spent the last 2 decades pretending it didn't matter." Justin began unhooking his microphone with shaking hands. "This interview is over. Run away then," Kelly called after him as he started toward the edge of the set. "But understand that this conversation is going to air exactly as it happened. People are going to see who you really are." Justin stopped at the edge of the stage and turned back to face her one last time. "You think you've won something here today, Kelly? You think destroying me is going to somehow fix what happened to Janet?" "I'm not trying to destroy you, Justin," Kelly replied, her voice suddenly sad. "I'm trying to get you to see that some things are more important than protecting your image." "Well, congratulations," Justin said bitterly. "You've made your point. I hope it was worth it." He ripped off his microphone pack and threw it on the ground, the feedback screeching through the studio speakers. Without another word, he stormed off